Hi, everybody. Welcome to my Facebook Live chat. It's Friday afternoon. It's almost the weekend. Just a couple more hours. You've almost made it. So thank you for joining me this afternoon. I'm Lori Frank, and I'm the owner of Lori Frank Mediation and Consulting. And I'm starting a new feature. This is the first one. Every Friday, I am going to be on my Facebook page in the afternoon answering frequently asked questions. So I work as a mediator, and I work with people who, for a variety of reasons, are in conflict. But I have a focus on working with parents who are separating. And when I'm working with those parents, we're working on things like parenting time, parenting responsibilities, child support, communication, separation of finances, all of those things that parents need to sort out to enable them to move forward as co-parents. So in working with people, I tend to get a lot of the same questions. And so that's why I decided I'm going to start to do this live Facebook chat on Fridays and start answering some of those questions because if they have questions, I find usually lots of people have the same question. So, but before we get started on the question for today, if you find this content valuable today, please like and follow my Facebook page. And then every time I'm on a Facebook Live chat, you'll get a little notification and you can join me if you'd like. And also, if you feel like this has been a valuable little bit of information, please feel free to share it with your friends. Okay, so today's question is, and this is probably the #1 question that I get, is what is the difference between using mediation or litigation for a separation? So I'll start by just very briefly telling you a little bit about each process and how they work. And then I'm going to talk about some of the similarities and some of the differences between the two processes. So litigation means that you're separating and you and your ex-partner each get your own lawyer, and it's your lawyer's job to listen to what you are wanting, hoping that the outcome will be, and to advocate and negotiate for that outcome on your behalf. And same with your ex's lawyer. It is their job to do the same thing. So when you are going through litigation for separation, there's not a lot of communication in general between the two exes. It's all up to the lawyers to be doing all of that. So the lawyers will speak to you, and then they'll come together and they'll negotiate. They'll come back to each of you, talk some more, figure out next plans, give you legal advice, tell you what they think you should do next, come back together, negotiate some more, and so it goes back and forth until at the end you have a separation agreement for the two of you. So that is in general the process for litigation. I should add, most people who choose to go through litigation do not end up in court. There's a small percentage that do end up in court, but mostly people tend to work things out, come to some sort of agreement in litigation. Court, of course, if you ended up in court, it is your lawyer's job for each of you to represent you in court and again to fight for your position and try to get the outcome that you are hoping for. So mediation, in mediation, when you're using a mediator, you are hiring one mediator for the two of you. So that's quite different than litigation. With a mediator, what you will do is you will come together with the mediator, and it's the mediator's job to help you identify the issues that you need to sort out, and then help to facilitate the discussion about those issues, with the outcome that you will come, hopefully, ideally, come to an agreement at the end. And then it is the mediator's job to create a summary of that agreement for you. So within mediation, again, it's the mediator's job to help you identify the issues, to facilitate the discussion, and to help manage any of the emotions and conflict that comes up within those discussions. So that's the difference between the two processes. So I'm going to go in a little bit about then the differences and the similarities that you will find between mediation and litigation. One of the biggest similarities that you will find is that regardless of whether you're using a mediator or a lawyer, everything is being done in the best interest of your children. So when your lawyer is giving you legal advice and making suggestions, they are doing so through the lens of what is best for your children. The same with mediation. When you come to the table and are working together to make decisions and come to an agreement, you are looking at everything through the lens of what is best for your children. So huge similarity, and you will find that regardless, mediation or litigation, that is similar across the board. So some of the other things, though, you'll start to see some big differences between the two processes. One of the big ones is time, the amount of time that it takes. In general, and of course I'm generalizing for both processes, everyone will tell you, oh, it was really short for me, or it was super long for me. So I'm going to give you the general view of each. So in terms of time, litigation can take quite a long time. It can be quite a long process, anywhere from a few months to a year to really sort things through. And the reason for that is that, the lawyer has to go consult with you, the client, then the lawyer is going to the other person's lawyer, they're negotiating, they're figuring out what they have in common, where the conflict is still lies, coming back to you, talking to you some more, figuring out what next steps are, going back. So there's back and forth, quite a back and forth. So that can take quite some time to sort out. In mediation, generally things are much shorter. So as an example, you can usually get in to see a lawyer within a week or two of contacting them to start the process. And then what we find is, and again I'm generalizing, but usually within about a month, maybe 4 to 6 weeks on the outside, you are finished from start to end. So that's quite a bit of difference in the amount of time that it will take you to get through each process. Another big difference between the two processes is the cost. So with litigation, if you've ever worked with a lawyer before, the hourly fee can be out of reach for a lot of people. And in a separation where you are already trying to figure out how you are going to separate finances, this can be stressful to not know exactly how much you're going to owe the lawyer at the end, and to also know that it's going to be probably a fairly large fee at the end for both of you. So you will each have a fee at the end. Mediation generally costs 3 to 5 times less than litigation. So litigation costs 3 to 5 times more than mediation. Again, a general ballpark for you to think about. Mediation, generally, you're probably looking at anywhere from about $1,200 to $3,000 start to finish. Every mediator is a little different in the way that they may charge their fees. A lot of mediators are hourly. For myself, I have both an hourly rate and I have a package that includes a certain number of hours and things in the process, so that at the end you know exactly what the bill is going to be. So that can be a really huge difference between the two processes, is the cost. Another big one, so time and money, obviously very important to people as they're separating, but something else, and I was talking to someone about this recently who went through a divorce and used a lawyer, and he was talking about how in hindsight, thinking about mediation, he realized how he felt through the process. He really didn't have a lot of control over the process. So I think the reason that sometimes people feel like that is because there is no communication between the two exes during the process. It is communication between the lawyers. And the lawyer comes back, tells you what was said, and makes suggestions about what to do next. So he was feeling like a little out of control of the whole thing, not knowing exactly where everything was going. And he said that was super stressful for him. In mediation, people generally say that they really felt in control of the process the whole time, and they felt in control of the outcome. The reason for that is because as a mediator, my job is not to tell you what to do. It's not to dictate the outcome. It's not to make a judgment. My job is so that the two of you can have a conversation about what you need to do next, what this agreement is going to look like, what life will look like as co-parents. So it is a very client-driven process, and people feel like they have much more control over the process as we're going through it, and then the outcome at the end. They really feel some ownership over that outcome because they came up with it. So another big difference, that control piece, feeling like you have ownership over this process and you know where it's going and what you're hoping for and what you're doing throughout. What do you get at the end? So that's a question as well that is different between the two processes. So at the end of litigation, what you will have is a separation agreement. It is a legal document that your lawyers will arrive at the end of the process. At the end of mediation, what you will have is a different document. It's called a Memorandum of Understanding. And so as your mediator, it's my job to write up the Memorandum of Understanding. And what it is a summary of everything, all of the details that you have agreed to of what you want life to look like moving forward as co-parents. So the biggest difference between the two is I'm not a lawyer, so I can't write a legal document. I can't create a legal document for you. With your lawyers, at the end, you will sign the document. It will be witnessed. It's legal. With your Memorandum of Understanding, you have some options. So again, client-driven process. You get to decide what you do with your document at the end. So the different options that parents choose from, for some ex-partners, they are amicable enough and feel like they're okay or comfortable enough with just having the document. What they really wanted out of the process was just someone to help them along and figure out how to get to that agreement. And all they want then is the summary, and they're happy with that. For other ex-partners, what they will do with their Memorandum of Understanding is they will decide that yes, they're happy with it, they're going to sign it, they're going to have it witnessed, and it's now a contract between them. What I always encourage my clients to do is to seek independent legal advice before signing their memorandum at the end. So some parents, it's up to them what they do at the end. I always encourage it. They may decide to sign it without that independent legal advice, but I think it's really good to get that advice just to make sure you've covered all your bases. And then after they get their independent legal advice and they're still happy with the agreement, then they have it signed and witnessed. The final option that you can do with your document at the end is between the two of you, you can decide on one lawyer. You take your Memorandum of Understanding to that lawyer, and as your mediator, I've written it in a way that makes it quick and easy for a lawyer to take what I've written and turn it into a separation agreement. So the lawyer will then write up the separation agreement for you. You can sign it there. It is now a legal document. It depends on what you need from your document. Will help to guide you with what your last step will be after mediation. For some people, they really want to have that legal document so they can take it and file it, so that should there be any conflict in the future, they've got that document filed, it's legal to fall back on. So it just all depends. Again, when I am working as a mediator, I always recommend that you get that independent legal advice before you sign your memorandum at the end. So that's a difference between the two. When you're done mediation, you may have one more step that you need to complete between the two of you that is outside the scope of what the mediator can do with you. Fine. Well, not finally. 2 more points. So hang in there. I'm almost done. The next point that I want to make is that sometimes people use both services. Sometimes people choose to use both mediation and a lawyer. So they will meet with the mediator to work on the agreement, but they will have retained a lawyer so that throughout the process, if they feel like they need some legal advice on different things throughout the process, they've got a lawyer retained that they can call up and say, hey, what do you think about this? This can be really helpful, especially in high conflict situations where people are stuck. Being able to have that legal advice along the way, you know, so you can go to your lawyer and say, I really want this in my agreement. If I go to court, what do you think a judge will say? And your lawyer then can give you that more objective information of, well, you know, if you went to court, they would probably say, yes, that is something that you should have. Or they can say, no, if you went to court, I really don't think the judge would give you that. So it can be helpful for people to have that information and get them past that place where they might be stuck. Because now they know, okay, this is not something that even if I went to court, I wouldn't win anyways. So I need to maybe back down on this and refocus myself in this discussion that I'm having. Sometimes we even have lawyers come and sit in on mediation. And so they're right there. Should something come up at the table, they can step out with their client. Their client can ask them, what do you think? They can give them their legal advice. We come back and we move on with mediation. So it is a collaborative approach. It's not adversarial. The lawyers are not there to represent you. They are there to support you and give you advice along the way. It's not about the two of them then fighting in mediation to get the position that you want. They're there to support you through some of the questions that you might have. So that's how sometimes people use both mediators and lawyers. The other way that sometimes people choose to use both services is they will go to the mediator for all of the parenting part of things. So parenting time, parenting responsibilities, communication, all of that kind of stuff. And they will go sometimes then to the lawyer for the financial piece. So it all depends. Everybody is different. It's good to have that conversation with your mediator and with a lawyer to determine which is the best fit for you. What are you most comfortable with? The final piece I want to talk about that is a big difference between the two services is that one is collaborative and one is adversarial. So mediation is a collaborative process. You are sitting down together with your mediator, a neutral person who is not there to represent either of you, but they're there to help you have this difficult conversation about what next. With litigation, it's an adversarial process. Your lawyer's job is to fight for you, and their lawyer's job is to fight for them and to fight for the positions that you each hold. And lots of negotiation takes place within that, and you come out with your agreement at the end. So my question for people when they are trying to decide which is the better process for them is, well, how do you want to feel at the end, I guess, is the question that I would ask people. So lots of people, it's separation, it's difficult, it's upsetting. People feel angry, they feel sad, they might feel depressed, they might feel humiliated, they might feel like they really need to get some retribution. So there can be a lot of negative feelings as you are separating. So my question is, by the end of the process, do you still want to feel all those same feelings? And is that how you would like to start the next chapter of your life as co-parents? I am guessing for most people, no, that's not the place where you want to start. So in mediation, part of what we do is working through some of those emotions. It's not counseling, but as those things come up, we work through them. And mediation, the whole focus is around building a new way of communicating and building a foundation for how you will now have to work together as co-parents. Because the thing is, and we all know this, once you're a parent, you're always a parent. You're a parent for life. It doesn't matter how old your kid is. And even after your child moves out of your home, there are still big life events where the two of you are potentially in the same space. Weddings, children being born, graduations, all of those kinds of things. So this is a lifelong commitment you have made to your children. Do you want to be stuck in this feeling of anger towards their other parent? Is that how you want to deal with things moving forward? So in mediation, and this is my opinion, I feel like you have a much better chance of starting to repair the relationship and figure out how you're going to move forward as co-parents. You don't have to like each other, but it helps you to build the foundation of how to at least get along, be respectful, have respectful communication. And the process gives you practice on what to do when a conflict comes up in the future, because you'll have the experience of this process to fall back on. Because inevitably conflict is going to come up again. You're going to have disagreements. So this gives you that practice of how are we going to communicate with each other? How are we going to figure this out the next time something comes up? So I will leave you with that. Before I go, I just want to tell you about a workshop that I have coming up on Sunday, May 6th, from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. I'm hosting a workshop about how to create a good parenting plan. This workshop is for any parent who is separating from their spouse or divorcing from their spouse or their common law partner. And by the end, you will have a good sense of what you would like from your perspective in your parenting plan. It will give you a lot of clarity. I will let you know all of the different kinds of things you'll want to consider, things that in terms of the content of your parenting plan. We'll also go over things like child support, finances, that kind of stuff. And I think that this afternoon will be really valuable because regardless of whether you end up using a mediator or a lawyer for your separation, this is going to save you some time and money because you will come into that process prepared. You will already know from your perspective what you are hoping for and what you need to discuss with your ex-partner. So that's Sunday, May 6th. If you go to the events on my Facebook page, you will see, you can click on that and you'll see a link there and it'll tell you lots more information about it. So thank you again for spending your Friday afternoon with me. I hope that was valuable. If it was, like I said earlier, please like and follow my Facebook page so that you'll be notified for future Facebook chats. And please share with your friends. And if you have any questions about this video, either now or if you are watching it on repeat later on, please feel free to put your questions or comments underneath the video, and I check regularly and I will be able to answer your questions. And if I don't know the answer, I will at least know where to point you to find the answer to your question. All right, have a wonderful weekend, and maybe I'll see you next week.